My mom erased me from her life after starting a new family, and when I confronted her about it, I made her cry. Now I feel terrible because everyone around me says I should be grateful to her for raising me. I try not to let any of this derail my peaceful, self-imposed recovery. It was the kind of day that felt too heavy to exist, and yet it clung to me like the dust in the air, a constant, uncomfortable reminder of the absence in my life. It was the first time I walked into her house and didn't feel like I belonged. I remember the moment so vividly, like it happened yesterday. The warm breeze of late spring, the sun-dappled hallway, the sound of a dog barking in the backyard. But there was something different this time, something that made the air seem thick with unspoken tension. Everyone looked up as the door opened, and so did I, and suddenly, that tension was erratic, like an undercurrent of fear. I had just arrived at my mother's new home, an entirely different one from the place I grew up in. This house was big, with a manicured lawn, large windows that let the light pour in, and a garden that looked like it belonged in a magazine. But it wasn't just the house that was different. It was her. Her face no longer held that warmth I remembered so well, the way she would smile whenever I entered a room, as if her whole world was brighter with me in it. That was the past. Now, there was only a faint hint of that smile, quickly masked by the flicker of discomfort in her eyes when she saw me. And I was too broken to not notice. For years, I lived with a sense of emptiness, something that I couldn't quite put into words. When I was young, there was a time when she was my entire world. I could run to her for comfort, for advice, for protection. But then, everything changed. I watched as she met someone new, a man who came into our lives and swept her off her feet. He seemed kind at first, charming even. But then, bit by bit, I began to notice the shifts. She spent less time with me, became preoccupied with his needs, with his children. I remember the first time she told me she was getting remarried. I was so young, but I could still feel the stab of rejection in my chest. It wasn't even the wedding that hurt. It was the feeling of being replaced, like I no longer fit into the narrative of her life. The years passed. We didn't talk much, my mom and I. I'd visit her, but there was a distance now that I couldn't bridge. She was too caught up in her new family, in her new role as a wife, a stepmother, and I was left to find my way through the world without her guidance. I wasn't a child anymore, but a part of me still yearned for the warmth and love we once shared. And it all came to a head one evening when I arrived at her house for what felt like the 100th time, hoping that this time it would be different. But it wasn't. She was sitting on the couch with her new husband, talking about their upcoming trip to Europe, while her children, his children, laughed in the corner. I stood there for a moment, invisible to them, feeling the weight of my own solitude. It was that silence that finally broke me. I walked over, my hands trembling, and I asked, "Mom, why did you erase me?" The room went still. My words hung in the air like an unwelcome guest, and for a moment I thought she hadn't heard me. Then her eyes flickered to mine, and I saw it. The guilt, the conflict, the pain. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. She looked down at her hands, and when she finally spoke, her voice was so small, so broken. It crushed me. "Never meant to. Never meant for you to feel that way," she whispered. But her apology felt hollow, as if she herself didn't believe it. I felt a surge of anger, of betrayal, of confusion. I wasn't a little kid anymore. I wasn't going to sit quietly and wait for her to give me the attention I deserved. I was a grown adult, and I wanted the truth, the real reason she had shut me out. I wanted to know why I had been the one left behind when everything else seemed to take priority. "Why didn't you ever try to fix it?" I asked, my voice rising. "Why did I have to beg for your love, for your time, for your presence? I was your daughter, and you left me." Tears welled up in her eyes, and she looked away. "I didn't know how to balance it all. I thought I was doing what was best for you. I thought you would understand that I had to rebuild my life. I didn't realize how much it would hurt you." The words cut deeper than I expected. I didn't know how to process them. She had erased me from her life to start over, and now I was just supposed to understand? As much as I wanted to forgive her, I couldn't. Not yet. Not when I had spent so many years aching in silence, wondering if I was ever enough for her. "I just wanted you," I said softly, my voice cracking. "I wanted you to be my mom again." And that's when I saw it, the raw, unguarded pain in her eyes. The walls she had built over the years came crashing down, and for the first time in so long I saw my mother, the woman who had given me life, as a human being. Flawed, broken, lost. She reached out to me, her hands trembling. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I never meant to hurt you." In that moment, I realized something I had been avoiding for years. My mom had changed, yes, but I had changed too. I had held on to so much bitterness, so much anger, that I had forgotten the most important thing: forgiveness. But the guilt that followed was unbearable. People around me told me I should be grateful to her, that she had raised me, that she had done her best. They didn't know the hurt, the years of feeling abandoned. And so, I did the only thing I knew how to do. I ran away from it. I sat down on the floor. As the days passed, I couldn't shake the heaviness of the confrontation. I made my mother cry. I had pushed her to the edge, and now all I could do was feel the weight of that. My heart ached, torn between what I wanted and what I thought was right. But even in that guilt, there was a part of me that knew something had to change. Maybe it was time for both of us to heal, to rebuild what we once had. It wasn't going to happen overnight, but in that fragile moment of honesty, we had taken the first step. And that, I think, was the most I could ask for. The empty space between us was still there. But maybe, just maybe, it wasn't as vast as it had been before.